And so lastly, let's look at odds. Now, when it comes to odds, it uses some of the concepts we did in the classical approach. So for E1, actual odds against. Okay, really? You just say odds against. I don't know why it says actual odds against, but it does tend to be worded that way as a definition, but I don't think we ever say it, when we're just talking. But anyways, so the number of ways an event cannot happen compared to the number of ways it can. And this will always be written as a ratio. So in 3A, if we wanted to look at the odds against rolling a 3, so that means we're not getting a 3, it's written as 5 to 1, the ratio of 5 to 1. And what this is things that are not a 3 compared to things that are a 3. So I always like to, kind of rewrite this as can't to can, so I keep that straight. You could also, find some other similar wording, like doesn't to does. The number of sides of a dice that doesn't give me a 3 compared to the number of sides that does, did, do, give me a 3. Keep in mind, odds are always written as a ratio, and notice the number 6 is not listed anywhere here. So even though 6 is the total number of sides on a die, this ratio, 5 plus 1, is going to add up to 6 because it's listing everything. So this kind of incorporates some of our information from classical approach, a little bit of complement, right? This is the complement of, getting a 3. But let's look at problem 2. Odds in favor. So it's the number of ways an event can happen to the number of ways it can't. I'm sure you figured that one out. But so notice it says the odds for rolling a 3. It doesn't say in favor because this is another way of wording that. So the odds for rolling a 3, 1 to 5. It is a 3, it is not a 3. So I'm looking at can to can't. Or if I wanted to find a different wording, did to didn't. The number of ways I did get a 3 to the number of ways I didn't get a 3. And lastly is payoff odds. Now when it comes to payoff odds, the word against isn't used, but I kind of put it in parentheses here to keep it in mind. But it's, it's the odds against something. But the key for us is payoff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So imagine, the formula. Net profit to amount bet. And so we need to talk a little bit about that. So here's our problem. If you have a $1 scratcher ticket, let's say that it says you won $100. So if I wanted to write the payoff odds for winning a scratcher, I'd first need to know the net profit. So I subtract the cost to bet. That gives me my net. Otherwise, it's called your gross profit, and we want net profit. I know it's not an econ class. So I take the $100 I win minus the $1 I bet, and I'm only going to get 99 new dollars. Now, I don't know why I said new money, but what's happening here is if you think about it, when I hand the person the dollar to buy the scratcher, imagine they set that dollar aside and don't put it in their cash register. Then when I win and say, wow, give me my $100, they're only going to reach into their cash register and take out $99. Then they're going to reach off to the side, hand me the $1 I gave them, and hand it back to me. So I got $100, but really, if I'm only looking at 99 new dollars, I don't know why they're paying me in ones in this story. To answer the question though, payoff odds against winning $100 on a $1 scratcher is 99 to 1. So it's telling you you're going to be paid off $99 for the $1 you bet. So that's where the word payoff comes down. And again, I like to look at it as net to bet. I don't really have any other ways of looking at this one. So now we're going to look at some examples involving odds. So the first question, 4A, what are the actual odds against rain if there is a 30% chance of rain today? So we know what to do for odds against, but this one says 30% chance, so it throws us off a little bit. So first focus on its odds against. This means no rain to does rain, or it did rain. So against is that I don't want that thing to happen, which is I don't want it to rain. But now how do I do it if it's 30%? Well, we know that rain has a 30% chance of happening. Where does 30% come from? I don't know how that was originally calculated, but the word percent means per 100. So 30% means 30 per 100 over 100. I can then reduce this fraction, divide both sides by 10, which we tend to write it this way is the same concept, and I get 3 over 10. That means 3 ways it does rain divided by 10 total outcomes. And keep in mind, the 10 came from 10 minus 3, 7 other outcomes plus the 3 ways it rained. So the odds against rain today are 7 to 3 if there's a 30% chance of rain. Question B. What are the actual odds in favor of getting the right answer when you guess on a multiple choice test that has options A through F? Because you only guess, right? Okay, and we're just looking at one question. But we want odds in favor. And we're looking for a right answer. So keep in mind there's 6 options. A, B, C, D, E, F is 6 different things you can choose between. Oops, sorry. And we're going to assume there's only one right answer. So if we want odds in favor, we want right to wrong. So one of these selections will be right, but that means 5, the rest will be wrong. 6 ways to answer minus the one that's right means the other 5 choices are wrong. And so the odds in favor of getting the right answer when you guess out of 6 choices is 1 to 5. And lastly, question C. You might want to try it. Now, there is a couple little things to watch out for on this one. It's payoff odds. So, when it comes to a test, remember it's easy to kind of think probability, but this one says payoff odds. And so I know that for the formula, I need to figure out what the net money I win is. So I know I'm going to be paid $70 minus the $5 I handed over to play the game, which means I'm only going to net $65. You could probably do that in your head. So payoff odds are net to bet. So it's going to be 65 to 5. That's not the right answer though. Whenever it comes to odds, they always want everything reduced as small as possible. So far that's happened on all of the problems we've looked at. But in this particular problem, I can divide both sides by 5. Now, divide by 5 seems a little weird because it's not an equal sign, but each side can be reduced by a factor of 5. And so I'll get 13 to 1. That is the payoff odds. That one kind of throws people off, but it's saying, for every $1 you bet, you're being handed 13, or you're actually being handed 14. You're making $13 is what your net is. So even though this one says you're paid 70, if you bet $1 and were handed 14, but if you did that 5 times, you handed over $5, you're going to have 5 times $14, which would be $70.